Ain't nothing easy on this week's episode of Implicit Bias Radio. No easy discussions, no easy whiskeys. 2025 keeps on 2025 and on this week's show. I'm your host, Kevon Bordelon. The crew is here, and we're about to toast to this week's episode of Implicit Bias Radio. Now, we don't know about you, but 2025, well, it's pretty much just been 2025. Nothing easy, nothing. Business as usual, challenge after challenge, but maybe, just maybe, that's the way it's supposed to be. I mean, after all, for Christians, it's pretty much always been the case. I mean, even the earliest practitioners who really just wanted to help people, the apostles, they had it tough. In Acts chapter 14, we're told it is necessary for us to undergo many hardships to enter the kingdom of God. Now, the reality is that premise isn't just a spiritual truth. It's actually a universal principle that really speaks to the entire human condition, regardless of one's faith or background. It invites us to consider the trials that we face, not merely as obstacles, but as an integral part maybe of our journey towards growth, purpose, and fulfillment. Look, when the apostles uttered those words, they were addressing early Christians. And early Christian communities were faced with persecution, rejection, suffering for their faith. These hardships were not trivial. They were life-altering. They were challenges that tested the very core of their beliefs. And yet, the apostles recognized that these trials were necessary, not because God delights in human suffering, but because the path of something truly meaningful often requires sacrifice, resilience, transformation. This idea actually runs deep in the teachings of many traditions. In the Christian faith, the kingdom of God symbolizes a spiritual reality where love, justice, peace reign supreme. A reality that's not only promised in the afterlife, but also something we work towards here and have to work towards it now. The passage reminds us that attaining this kingdom, whether it's interpreted spiritually or metaphorically, it demands effort, perseverance, and the willingness to endure hardship. That principle applies to life in general. Think about the journeys that define human existence, whether it's pursuing an education, building a career, raising a family, striving for a dream. Rarely are these paths smooth or easy. Challenges arise, setbacks occur. And moments of doubt don't just creep in, it sits on your shoulder, waiting for an opportunity to invade your soul. Yeah, it is through these very hardships that we actually discover our strength. Imagine, for instance, an artist perfecting their craft. Each brushstroke, sketch, melody may come with frustration, failure, and definitely with criticism. Yet the artist persists. And through this persistence, they uncover beauty that actually speaks to everyone. Similarly, athletes endure grueling training, sessions, moments of physical exhaustion, and yet the sting of defeat, those experiences, they forge their discipline, resilience, and eventual triumph. Hardships shape us, but they also refine our character. They teach us patience, humility, empathy. They should force us to confront our fears and push beyond our comfort zones. They should remind us that success doesn't come without effort and that meaningful accomplishments are often the result of unwavering dedication. But beyond personal growth, hardships connect us to maybe the most important thing of all, other people. They remind us that we all share humanity. When we face challenges, we often seek comfort, we seek advice, we seek solidarity from those who maybe have endured similar struggles. This builds community, and it actually fosters compassion in our other human beings. In many ways, our collective hardships become the thread that weave our lives together, creating a tapestry of shared experiences, understanding, and support. Yet it's still important to recognize that not all hardships feel redemptive in the moment. There are times when weighing the suffering on our shoulders feels unbearable, when the road ahead seems sometimes impossible to navigate. In these moments, though, we actually might question the necessity of our trials. We may ask why certain challenges have been placed before us. And it's in these times of doubt that this passage from Acts actually offers solace. It reminds us that there is purpose beyond the pain, and that even the darkest nights lead to the dawn of transformation. So as we reflect on this, let's also remember that enduring hardships does not mean we have to face them alone. Support systems, whether they're family, friends, mentors, communities, they're vital in helping us navigate the trials of life. Seeking help, sharing our burdens, leaning on others, they're not signs of weakness, but rather expressions of strength and wisdom. So on this episode of Implicit Bias, bring your troubles, bring your fears, bring your doubts. We'll give you maybe some of ours. Bring your weekly whiskey. I guarantee we won't share that with you. But during the next 2 hours, we'll definitely commiserate, solve the problems of the world, and we'll help you persevere, knowing there's someone else out there who shares your Implicit Bias Radio. Implicit Bias Radio, it's weekly whiskey time on Implicit Bias. We've got a crew here in the Mr. Lester's Top Secret podcast lair for you, and I'm kind of afraid what's going to happen over the next 2 hours of solving the world's problems. Let me go ahead and jump to the chair, much like mine. He got a week off. He's back. The Rustic Renegade is back with us. Mr. Morse, how are you?
I am wonderful. I really am.
I'm glad to hear that. Things in a good place, it sounds like.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Head's in a good place. Whiskey's in a good place. I'm in a good place.
I guess you're in a good place. All right. At the bar, we have two familiar faces. One is a member of the OG crew, and he does his best to, apparently he's been traveling all over because the last few times I've tried to find him, I'm always like, Trammell, where are you at? Oh, I'm not in town. I'm here. And he sends me these really bougie pictures and then sends me more bougie pictures the next time. How are you, Mr. Trammell, besides the fact that we can't see your eyes because of the hat?
Well, that's what you call semi-retired. Come on.
Good for you. Good for you.
Very good, man. We just back from Tennessee. We went to the mountains. I've never been up there. Beautiful area. What I really liked about it, no cell phone coverage.
Man, that is a blessing. People may not realize how much of a blessing it is to have those little bricks that carry our lives with them and track us everywhere we go and everything we do. It is a beautiful thing to go back to the days when most of us here in this room, definitely not Walker, but most of us here in this room would leave the house and be like, nobody knows where I am. And it's okay.
It felt so good.
Yeah, I'll bet it did. All right, sitting at the bar with Mike Trammell, Mike the Drip, as his nickname goes, is Brian Hold Harmless Harmon. How are you, Harmon?
I'm doing fine. I'm glad to be back. Thank y'all for having me.
We had settled on a new nickname for you.
I noticed what you said.
But I'm trying to remember what the new one was. I'm getting old. I forgot.
It was something to do with influencer. I don't remember either. But that's your job.
Influencer?
Yeah.
No.
Is it because you went
Yes.
semi-viral?
Yep.
Yeah, it should have been the virus. Yeah, it should have been the virus.
yeah. That
Brian
might
the
have been it.
Virus Harmon.
That's it.
Harmon.
Yep.
Yeah, Brian the
Viral.
Virus Harmon.
There you go.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
let's stick with that. I like that one.
I think Triple H is where it's at. I really
Yeah,
do.
just the
Yeah.
fact that you hate Triple H
Yeah,
that much, it makes me want to stay
I
there.
made the mistake of letting it be known I didn't like that name.
Yeah, you never should have.
I agree. It was a rookie mistake.
Let's see if we can get to something you do like. But before we do, I want to make sure that we chime in with our last member of the group. He is actually back to drinking, but because he doesn't talk a whole bunch on the show much anymore, he's the pledge who no longer wears his pledge pin. So did we make him active? I mean, he has been around for a year.
I mean, he got the tattoo, so.
Okay, well, if he got the tattoo, I guess it's all right. He is Walker Griffon, Andrew Walker Griffon.
Whoa, whoa, whoa.
Whoa, what do you mean, whoa, whoa, whoa?
Put my government name out there.
Now people are going to Google you,
Yes.
and they'll know exactly where you live.
I think,
Yeah.
I think that's great. I think that should be his nickname. We should just call him Andrew. How do you like that?
I mean, it doesn't matter.
Or call him Uncle Drew. I don't know. Call him something. All right.
Uncle Drew.
Walker, it's good to have you. So, Walker, I tell you what, why don't we do this? Why don't we let you chime in on our weekly whiskey first? This is Crittenden's, a cut above. It's distilled in Kiln, Mississippi. This is their Mississippi Pecan Toasted Barrel. Yep, Mississippi Toasted Pecan. I'm curious as to what you think about this, Walker.
I enjoyed it. It's a little peppery, I feel.
Okay.
I've only had like 3 sips of it, but the first 3 sips, pepper. A little peppery, but I do enjoy it. I don't think it's a overpowering taste of like caramel and things of that nature, but I do like this.
Moving your microphone like that, Walker, it comes through the audio. Just because you're the audio guy, you should.
I heard it.
Yeah, that's what I thought. Okay. sometimes. Anyway, one of the things that I like about this, I get big, bold flavor on this. This is one that I think it's gonna hit us kind of right where we like whiskeys and things of that nature. But Walker, I'm curious because you say pepper. What proof do you think this comes in at? Because I have not let anybody look at this proof yet.
110.
110? Okay. Let's go to the bar. Harmon, the microphone is facing you, so we'll let the virus go first. First of all, what do you get off of this, and what flavors do you find? And then what proof do you think this comes in at?
It wasn't until Caleb said Dr. Pepper, but it's definitely on the nose. But I'm hoping it comes in at 110. I hope it's that high. I find it has a very good flavor profile. It's sort of reminiscent to like some of the sour mashes I've tasted, where it's a lot of flavor, but they're usually not very strong. Proof is on the low side. I don't feel any burn on the back end. It drinks like a lower proof. I'm hoping it's a higher.
Trammell is obviously back from vacation because he's nose humping that like my neighbor's dog when he comes over to visit. I mean, he's just going after it. So I'm curious, Trammell, what do you think of this one?
So did you say Kiln, Mississippi?
Yes, Kiln, Mississippi.
Come on now, this famous football player.
Oh, I know who's from there.
Oh, okay.
I know exactly who's from there.
Are we holding that back, or are we?
Brett Favre.
Yeah, the gunslinger.
Yeah, he is from Kiln, Mississippi.
I was going to guess Bo Jackson, but I don't know.
Nope, not Bo Jackson.
Bo Jackson.
Brett Favre.
Yeah, the gunslinger, Green Bay Packers.
Yep. Okay, so what do you think?
So it's kind of like Brett Favre. It kind of hits you in the mouth quick.
Okay.
Very peppery up front. Very,
you get pepper
very,
also.
Very peppery. I'm kind of thinking it doesn't feel like it's got a lot on the back end. And you're asking proof also? Yeah,
I'm asking proof just for right now. We haven't even gotten to Morse Whiskey rating code or what would you pay or any of that stuff.
110.
You guessed the same thing Walker
Well,
did.
what do you? What,
Okay.
If that's what I think it is, like, so just not giving my opinion then? Like,
Okay, so what flavors are you pulling out of this one?
pepper. I'm really not getting a lot on it. Like I'm having a hard time.
They should have let you sit next to Pat Summerall and do color for NFL games. If they score more points, they're going to win. This tastes peppery. What flavors do you get? Pepper. Right. Gee, that's a first down. Well, that means he got 10 yards. I mean, come on.
maybe the sun and moon over there knows his stuff. And,
Maybe he does.
and I'm telling you, well, that hat he's wearing, I'm not too crazy about that. I'm a Braves fan, but yeah, the Yankees know. But I'm telling you, I'm not really getting but a lot of pepper. I know y'all mentioned Dr. Pepper a while ago, but I'm not feeling that. I smell the Dr. Pepper.
So I know what flavor profile I'm getting on this, and I'm with, I think, everybody in the room on the fact that it is a soft drink. But for me, it's not Dr. Pepper on this. I want to hear what the nose that knows thinks of this one, because Caleb Morse is going to be like, this smells like the blossom off of this tree that was on the west side of my grandmother's house, but only when it blossomed in the third month of the year as we hit spring before it dropped all of it. Whatever. All right, Caleb, I'm curious.
So on the nose, I get Dr. Pepper. I get right there like a flat Dr. Pepper. On the palate out the gate, I get the glass jar ABC root beer, but flat, like a flat sassafras.
Okay.
That's the flavor I get on the palate. Then it follows with those little.
Here we go. Here we go.
You don't make them at home. You buy them at a gas station, the little pecan pies. And it doesn't taste like the whole thing. It tastes like the outer edges of one that was kind of almost overly crisp.
Okay.
Not burnt pecan pie, but like that right on the edge where it's like, don't know if I should eat it or not. But that's where you get that dark pecan, a little bit dark flavor. Black pepper's in there as well. And then it just drops off very abruptly. This isn't here for a long time. It's here for a good time.
Here's the really interesting
112.3.
112.3. That is oddly specific, and I like it.
Okay, Kevon, before you go into all that dramatic saying that he just gave us right there is the same thing I said in short form. Like, he just made this large book about it, and I gave you the simple, exact. Me and Walker gave
Cliff Notes.
Yes.
See, I am
New York Times bestselling novel.
what I know.
He said it dropped off quick. It was peppery up front. It drops off quick.
What I
It does.
know is this. I know that now we can confirm that Mike is semi-retired because Trammell did not complain. He didn't, this donkey whiskey. He was always miserable. We'd bring him on the show. We'd give the guy a $300 bottle of whiskey, and he'd be like, this must be donkey whiskey. Right?
You know why you're so happy, right?
I'm afraid to ask you for the answer, Caleb, because this is going to have to be censored.
Implicit bias, not brought to you by Viagra.
I was going to say Harmon's hand.
They are sitting at the bar together. Oh, no, don't go down this road. Okay.
That is why I keep my hands in full view.
So
During the show.
on the nose, I do get cola, soda, Dr. Pepper. On the palate, what I get, has anybody ever had cheer wine?
What?
Cheer wine.
Is that what they give to cheerleaders?
No,
Or-
it is not.
Oh.
It is a soft drink that is available. It is a black cherry soda that is really popular
I
in
get
other
black
parts
cherry.
of the country.
I do get black cherry. I didn't want to say it.
It's black cherry soda. And I mean, it's not a caramel bomb on this. To me, it is a cherry bomb. I get cherry on this. Oddly enough, I do get the hints of pecan. I do get the hints of, and not even necessarily the pecan, but the pecan pie filling. That's what I get on this. I would like a little bit of a longer finish. And I don't know why. It's not oily, which to me is what makes it really stick around. But this one will get you in trouble because I do believe that it does not drink like the 113 proof and change that it is. 113 and change on the proof. Aged 5 years in the barrel. So not just aged in the barrel 5 years, finished then in port barrels
I could see that.
with pecan staves in it to give it that pecan flavor.
How long have these guys been legally distilling?
Oh, I would love to say that I know the full history
And
on
this
Crittenden's.
is why I asked.
They've been around for a while though, and some of the offerings that I've had from them have been really good stuff. Like you don't expect to say the whiskey that I got out of Kiln, Mississippi is going to be fantastic stuff.
Yeah.
But this is really good stuff if you ask me.
Like 7 or 8 years ago, I worked for another company. We would go to Mississippi quite a bit. And one of our customers was Mississippi ABC, the alcohol board. And like once or twice a year, they would do a controlled burn of moonshine. And this tastes very reminiscent of a moonshine that I've had.
How did you
over
taste
there in Mississippi.
moonshine that was burning if it was a controlled burn of moonshine?
Look, we don't.
I'm just
they
asking,
don't
Caleb.
dictate which end burns. So you have to sample to make sure it's flammable.
Ah, okay. You're going into it making sure that the proof is high enough.
Yeah, it pays to know people.
Oh, there we go. And there's the real answer. Look, this is not going to be an easy rating, much like the theme of this show. Nothing's easy. But I'm curious to see where this falls with the crew because number one, we had the proof out there. And Caleb's going to fill out the Implicit Bias Whiskey Tasting Journal on this, which, by the way, they are available on Amazon. You can order them. You can have them shipped to your house. And you can sample whiskey the same way we do. But this one, I'm really curious to see where it rates with the crew. So Walker, I'm curious. Number one, where would you rate this on the Morse Whiskey rating code? Would you give this a red? I wouldn't drink it even if it was free. A yellow? I would only drink this if it were free. A green or a blue? A green is I would buy this. A blue is I would seek this out. And then what would you pay for this 5-year-old? And I did that on purpose. What would you pay for this 5-year-old toasted barrel finished whiskey?
Green, 65.
Oh, green. Walker to give it a green. I'm impressed. All right. Let's go to the bar because the bar is going to hold up the What Would You Pay championship belt chain presented by Box Drop of Lafayette.
24K right there.
Hold on. Yeah, 24 green. I thought it was 24G. 24 green, turn your neck green.
G and K.
Well, you got to get the microphone. Trammell, you've been doing this how long with us? Do
G
you remember
and
the OG
K.
crew?
Well, it's rattling right. Harmon's got his one hand on my leg, and he's got the other hand on the chain, and it's rattling everywhere. I mean, what do you want me to do?
For those, by the way, if you're not following us on socials, if you're not watching on YouTube, on X, on Instagram, on Facebook, you're missing the visuals here that Harmon is doing to make sure that you know that Trammell is lying through his teeth. All right, Trammell, where do you rate this on the Morse Whiskey rating code, and what would you pay?
I mean, can I just say a simple color, or do I have to give the Caleb Morris
No, you can-
description? Like I
you
went
give a
to,
color.
I went to this gas station over in Plaisance, and I got 2 gallons of gas, and I walked inside and got a pecan pie. It's the same thing I said earlier. It is a yellow.
Really?
Yes.
So, okay, you wouldn't buy it.
Nope. I mean,
You liked it until I said the proof. You hate it when I give you high proof.
if that store in Plaisance only had this available, maybe. But
Okay, so Trammell doesn't like. So what would you pay?
what would I pay? What would I pay?
You know what? I think we need to invoke a rule here. If you wouldn't buy it, you don't even get to play because you're not going to buy it. So what you would pay wouldn't matter.
Well, ever since we've got the chain, I've kind of avoided winning it. To be honest, if you remember, I was a champion of this contest before. And
You were.
And then since we've got the chain, I've
And then you rate a really good whiskey as donkey whiskey and give it a yellow. And look, a yellow is not donkey whiskey. I'd still drink it, right? But you give it a yellow, which is, I think, squirreling on this one.
So are you foreshadowing that you're giving this a good rating?
I'm definitely not giving it a yellow. I'll say that.
So
I'm just impressed that you know a 3-syllable word, foreshadowing.
So is that like
Which
a
might even be 4
Mississippi 8, a
syllables.
Lafayette 4, or
I'm sorry.
is that like saying she's a Mississippi 8 but a Lafayette 4? Is that what?
10 and a 2. I'm going to go 59 on this one.
59 on this one. All right, Harmon, what are you thinking?
First, I want to clear up any confusion. There's no whiskey stores in Plaisance. There's whiskey up the road at Nuba is where you need to stop
Okay.
if you're on that highway.
See, Harmon knows.
Yep, that's my neck of the woods. I'm going to give this a green. I like it. I think it had a good flavor profile. I'm not picking up on the pepper too much. I
don't get a ton of pepper
yeah,
either.
I don't find. I think it's got a good front end, back end. There's not much on the back. I do agree with that.
I like him with a good front end and a good back end.
Every time I talk whiskey, we work that in.
Well, no, that's you.
It is.
It's not me. You throw it out there. I like it when they do that too.
Yeah. All in all, great. I really enjoy it. If it had more of a full flavored back end, I think I'd be in the blue territory. But I'm
Okay.
going to stick it green. And price wise, a 5-year out of Mississippi,
Double finished.
double finished. What Mike? What was your guess?
59.
59.
He went donkey whiskey.
I'm going to say $50.
$50. All right, Caleb.
All right. So the Ville Platte virus says 50.
I am not from Ville Platte.
It goes well though.
Great people from Ville Platte.
So the Vidalia virus. Right then.
That is no insult to our listeners in Vidalia either, by
no.
the way. It is an insult, however, just to the virus being the virus.
It's a green. This is a solid green for me. It's outside of my wheelhouse. I'll be honest with you. If I had seen this sitting on a shelf, I wouldn't have picked it up. Just with the pecan finish, everything else, I'd be like, you know what? That's not for me. Don't want to try it. I'm happy I tried it. I'm happy with the proof. Could it be better? I think so. Will I try it if they come out with something that's a little bit better? Yes. So blue for the work, the effort, everything else, even the little diced up staves they're putting here, $75.
75. Okay. So I give this a green. I would absolutely buy this. Caleb, I'm with you. It's just shy of being a blue. Just shy of being a blue. Because to me, it needs a little bit longer finish. It needs to be a little more oily. Because that's just kind of what we like. But the flavor profile of this is unique. For a port finished whiskey, and this is what I'm going to compare it to.
No.
Yeah, because you know I'm right. It's not quite the Four Gate Bluegrass trilogy, but it's pretty close. And here's what I want you to think. And Caleb, am I right here?
You got a solid point.
Here's the
I hate
big
to
question,
admit it.
though. How much does that Bluegrass trilogy go for?
I mean, what is it, like 125
Oh,
on a good day when you can find it at retail? No, more than that?
keep going.
You son of a.
Not the first to call me. That won't be the last.
I don't even remember because I never see it anywhere. So the only time I see it, it's like $20 a pour.
The Bluegrass Trilogy 3 was $199 a bottle retail.
And it was worth it too, though.
This, Caleb, you're going to get the What Would You Pay Championship belt chain. This is $94 a bottle. The double finish is what does it, right? Because you've got 5 years. General rule is
Yep.
$10
10
for every year. $10 for every rule. No, $10 for every year. And at that point, it becomes how you finish it, what else you do to it, how much you lose of it, whether it's in the finishing in the port barrel casks, whether it's in the port casks, whether it's in the finishing with the pecan wood. It's all the extra stuff that goes into it. And this one at 94, I would still buy it. This to me is a buyable bottle at 94. I think it's worth it. You can find it at our weekly whiskey partners. Don't forget New News down in Maurice for those on that south side of Lafayette who don't necessarily want to go all the way to Youngsville. Go there. You can find it. You can taste it. You can buy it. It's a green. Walker's given me the finger, and I mean the 1 minute finger, not that finger, because that's not how we roll on Implicit Bias Radio. We'll be back. The Rustic Renegade is having nervous twitches of some sort here in the Top Secret Podcast lair, brought to you by Mr. Lester Steakhouse down at Cypress Bayou Casino. By the way, Summer Supper is a week away from when this episode airs on terrestrial radio. And you know the best part of that? We've still got some tickets to give away. So find us on our social media. We will be giving away tickets for two to come with the crew to Mr. Lester Steakhouse at Cypress Bayou Casino. We will provide hotel, food, and drinks for the evening. It's on a Saturday night. You don't have anywhere else to be. So far, the only people who have turned me down have been priests because they can't get anybody else to cover masses on Saturday and Sunday for them. Outside of that, there are zero excuses. So go find us on our Facebook page, our Instagram page, our X page, our TikTok page. Go find us on all of our social medias. We will put up ways for you to win tickets to summer supper at Mr. Lester Steakhouse. By the way, they've got weekly whiskey specials going on. They're still doing, I think, $5 Jack Daniel's Sinatra pours, which is just insane. For that bottle of whiskey to be poured at $5 a pour, go down there, tell them Implicit Bias sent you. It has not been an easy 2025. It just hasn't. Matter of fact, I think you could probably argue that it wasn't an easy 2021, 2022.
Just say 20.
Yeah, it has not maybe been an easy 2020 at all yet, but 2025 has been rough. It's been really specifically rough, late 2024, early 2025, for now former President Joe Biden. And maybe this is the way it's supposed to be. Maybe there's benefits for everybody to realize out of what is a horrific hardship, because the reality is, if we're being Christian, if we're being Catholic, we need to will the good of other for the sake of other, which means we are going to wish Joseph Robinette Biden a speedy and healthy recovery. That being said, politically, this may be, I'm going to go backwards on that. This is the biggest political scandal in the history of the United States. The fact that we are now finding out in May of 2025 that Joseph Robinette Biden, the 46th president of the United States of America, has stage 4 metastasized cancer to the bone, is the greatest political scandal in the history of the country, because it's about so much more. I'm going to open it up to the crew here on Implicit Bias Radio, see what your thoughts are, because there's a lot to unpack here about why this is so important.
Well, what was it that, and it's not me, I'm trying to recall what the medical professional said with this. For cancer, even this aggressive cancer, to be at this stage, he would have had to have it since 2018, 2019?
At the very least.
And we're just now hearing about this because, and look, I saw an interview and I told you about it, and forgive me, I was never able to find it again.
So please don't believe us. Go look for it.
Do some research, look it up. And this woman was going through and talking about how it was brought to her back then, and she was told in sometime around 2024 that it was terminal, which means roughly 6 months left to live. She said, if that's the case, then we're going to see 2-3 months max. That they're bringing this out now at the end of his life to try to back clean up for what's about to come out.
So at the bar, what are we thinking? Who wants to start? Oh, Trammell's going to grab the mic.
Do you want to go? No, go. I mean, obviously, there had to be some kind of. His wife, Jill, is a doctor, correct?
No, she's a doctor, not a doctor.
PhD.
She's a PhD. She is not a medical doctor.
Okay. Gotcha. So there had to be some kind of.
But still call her Dr. Jill.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you, Harm. There had to be a cover up here. I mean, there's something that's. To me, I'm thinking there's something that they want to eliminate Joe. I hate to say it like this, but something that Joe knows that they don't want him to stumble and accidentally say that he's covered up all these years. I think we're fast forwarding to Joe basically, I mean, I hate to say it, passing away. I hate to say it like that, but
No, I mean, when you look at the
there's-
physical facts of where we are, they have said it's stage 4 metastasized cancer. That is a terminal diagnosis.
very much. But it just came out like boom.
Correct.
Like that, okay. I've had a lot of cancer in my family, unfortunately, and we went through the stages, and just that this just doesn't happen this far along, just like that, with no symptoms and not knowing. I really think there's something. Either there's a cover up here. They don't want Joe to accidentally say something. I noticed he hasn't really been in the public spotlight at all since he's left office. I haven't seen him. In my opinion, I think there's a cover up. They've been knowing this has happened. There's something that they just don't want him to come out and say accidentally.
Harmon, what are you thinking?
Well, Biden did come out and do a quick little circuit and went to a couple of shows. And I think I maybe on air I even said that we were not even going to see that once he was out, because it was clear while he was president they didn't want him to talk publicly and off script. That was crystal clear. We watched it for 4 years, and it got progressively worse towards the end. That's no doubt. But not surprised. This is a nail in the coffin for most people holding out that don't want to admit what we all witnessed over the last 4 years. Even the media and the likes of some of the
Ring the bell. The media is a big part of this.
yeah, absolutely. And like the Jake Tapper's all over the news right now, touting a book about the cover up. Well, he's as complicit as the next one. Like you're writing a book, so you actively partake in the cover up, and then you write a book, and then you go on the news circuits and you tout your book to turn a profit. Like it's all absurd. Anybody still watching or paying attention to what mainstream media is saying should not be. I've got a lot more to say to that, but I'll leave it alone.
Here's why I think this is a difficult situation, because there's, number one, a lot of levels to this. And the first level I think we are starting with here, what we're talking about, is the fact that there is a group of people in this country who are running and asking for your support, for our support. They are asking for our votes. They're asking for our mandate. And they think you are a f***ing moron. They think you are so stupid that they can go, oh, we just discovered a cancer that takes 7 to sometimes 15 years to metastasize to the bone. And we're going to tell you it was just discovered. They think you're so stupid that you won't put together. This is the most medically checked upon man in the United States for a 4-year period, and every freaking doctor just missed it. They think you're dumb enough. They think we're dumb enough that we're going to believe this. And this is number one why, first part of this, I don't mean number one like the largest, I mean the first reason why this is one of the biggest political scandals, the biggest political scandal in the history of this country. Because ask any oncologist, ask any doctor, they're all going to tell you, oh, they're full of it. They're lying.
What's so hurtful about this is from somebody who's lost too many family members to cancer. They put him through this.
Oh, we're going to get to that.
People lied about this and forced him to go out there, do more, do speeches, talk, like go through the entire process and pretend like nothing was wrong. They forced him to suffer more than he was already suffering. Regardless of what you think about the man politically, you don't do that to a human being.
Well, and we're going to talk about really what this constitutes, because there's more than just the cancer diagnosis going on here. We sit around and think, oh, there's no way. The evidence has been out there. Brian, you bring up Jake Tapper's book. The fact that Tapper was defending him, I mean, Tapper defended, oh, he's still sharp as a tack. People have no reason to question his acuity. They have no reason to question his mental state. They have no reason to question his health. None of this. And what do they get mad about? These are the same people who got mad about 2 scoops of ice cream. Think about this. They're part of it. They are complicit in the cover-up. Someone has now given them permission to let this information out. They knew. They all knew. The media knew, and they lied. The media didn't just tell you a falsehood. They straight up knew and lied. This is where we are with our media today. Don't tell me they didn't know. They all knew. The media was complicit. The question now becomes, how many other people are behind the scenes looking at you and me, American citizens, and saying, you're dumb enough to believe what we're going to tell you? Why? Because it's worked in the past. They are showing you the playbook. The playbook has always been lie to them. Lie to them enough, and the lie will become the truth.
If Biden was a Republican, I would sit here with 100% certainty and say every member of his cabinet, every member of their staff is going to be subpoenaed and hauled in front of Congress and grilled for weeks. The fact that he's not, I sadly, I don't know. That's what should happen. The physician his Biden's presidential physician, and I looked up his name for this very reason, and it escapes me right now. But how is that man not going to be in a lot of trouble?
Well,
Because there is no way, there is zero chance that a PSA was not given to Biden during the 4 years in office. There's absolutely zero way.
and here's why. And we have to take a break after this, but this subject matter is going to continue to roll through this episode of Implicit Bias. Because life is hard and there are struggles and people get put in difficult positions, which is how you end up with multiple people telling a lie, with multiple people doing things they shouldn't be doing, and people who will sacrifice other people in order to save themselves. More of America's greatest political scandal in history when we come back on Implicit Bias Radio. Final segment of hour one of Implicit Bias Radio for this Saturday. I'm your host, Kevon Bordelon. Welcome back into, yes, hopefully your favorite Saturday radio show / podcast where we solve the problems of the world one weekly whiskey at a time. The problem we are solving this week is that life is hard, and the problem that we are solving is not an easy one. It is, in fact, the greatest political scandal in the history of the United States, and it is the diagnosis and the revelations about Joseph Robinette Biden in the last week to week and a half. Now, there is always the theory that the dog gets wagged by its tail, right? The wag the dog theory, that you put something else out there to take away from a different news story that might be out there. So the question always belies, why would they roll out that Joe Biden has terminal cancer? And again, please listen to our thoughts on the show. We wish him good of other for the sake of other, that he makes a speedy recovery. That is how we look at him as a human. Politically, we've got to call this what it is. Why would they roll out that he has terminal cancer when they did? I'm going to ask the crew here in the Mr. Lester's Top Secret Podcast lair if you have any thoughts on that. Why would they do it now? Why would they do it when they did?
I don't know. I've thought about this. I call it the shiny object. Look at this thing over here. Okay. That was my first thought was, okay, well, why are they coming clean with it right now? To go with what Caleb said, it may be he only has a couple of months and they're just trying to get in front of it. That might ultimately be. I don't know. The pool of possibilities is so deep. I don't know what particular topic they may be trying to distract us from.
This is interesting because, first of all, I agree that could be a fringe benefit. Mm-hmm. That could be the side chick to the real reason why, in my opinion.
Yeah.
But we're going to talk about what I think is the real reason in just a second. Caleb, you have a thought, and then we'll go to Trammell.
I mean, the other one could be as we investigate and look into the auto pin features, right? So this could be their justification for using the auto pin because of the medications and so forth, the cognitive decline. We did this for the sake of the betterment of the American people. Although unconstitutional and 100% illegal, it was for your own good.
I think you might be a little closer to the bullseye because I think that actually factors into it. Trammell, do you have any thoughts over there? Since no one can see your eyes anyway on video because the hat.
I turned my hat backwards, but it wasn't comfortable. But I kind of said it earlier in the last segment. I just think there's something that he knows that they don't want him to reveal. I really think it's a cover. I think it was always there. Listen, my wife went through breast cancer 5 years ago now. And believe
Glad
me,
she's doing okay now.
Oh, yeah. Excellent. But she goes through a checkup every year, and we get a scare almost every year because there's spots that they find that are, possible, like it's come back again. And this is a normal person, being my wife. This is the president of the United States you're talking about.
Mike, she's not normal. She's a saint if she's your wife.
Pretty much, yes.
Yeah,
yes,
we know
yes.
this.
But anyway, this guy, I mean, he's got to have the best medical doctors there are. How was this never even...
Okay. So here's where I'm with you, Mike. I don't think it's because of what he knows. I think it's because of what he no longer knows. If you're paying attention, there was another release of some information that was highly, highly, highly damaging to the entire narrative that Joe Biden was ever president in the last week and a half. last Saturday morning. So when I say that last Saturday morning, what, the 17th? Maybe late on the 16th? Special prosecutor Hur's tapes of Joe Biden's interview were released. If you got a second to listen to those tapes, please, I beg of you, do not believe us on this. The tapes are all over X. They're all over the internet. Please go find them. Spend 10 minutes listening to them. And remember when this interview happened, because the interview happened years ago.
It was horrible.
He didn't know he didn't know what year his son died. He didn't know what year it was that things happened. I mean, when I tell you it was obvious that he was not in a mental state to be the most powerful man on the planet, to me, this is one of the reasons why it's such a big cover-up. Because they need something to try and say, oh no, we can't talk about his mental state now because he's terminal, it's inappropriate. No, it's absolutely appropriate because you're using the fact that it's terminal to try and direct attention that he was never the president.
He would go back, they would ask him a question, he would talk, and he would go back to, what was his son that passed?
Bo,
you talk about Bo's passing, couldn't remember the year, couldn't remember if he was president or vice president, and then went back and forth and would string together a series of consonant and vowels that was not coherent. And then start speaking again, said he wanted to continue. They tried interjecting. It was painful to listen to. It was very painful to listen to, especially when you think about the fact that at that time, that was supposedly the leader of our country.
well, that's back when Joe Scarborough is telling us he's sharper than ever. He's sharp as a tack. Joe Scarborough, you're a liar because you knew. Don't tell us you didn't know. If you didn't know, you don't have the mental acumen to watch the interviews and do the actual research that you need to do, the whole position that you hold.
Not to mention the excoriation. Is it Robert Hur, the agent that did the interview?
Yes.
Is it Robert?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
I mean, go back and watch what happened to that guy. Across. I mean, his name was smeared from one end of this country to the next.
And he did what they wanted him to.
and
he didn't
yeah.
prosecute him. He came back and
That's
said,
right.
no, I take that back. It wasn't her. It was the DOJ.
It was
who came back and said, oh, nobody would convict him. He's just going to come across as an old man who forgets.
Mm-hmm.
Tell me he's not competent to be president without telling me he's not competent to be president.
Yeah.
Which this is why this is such a big scandal. This is why it is the greatest scandal in American history. Because I believe that the cancer diagnosis, now this is opinion, the cancer diagnosis was released probably number one, because to Caleb's point, to Mike's point, they may not have much time. They need to do something. Number two, to try and divert attention from the fact that the video's out there. The tapes are out there. The tapes are out there that prove beyond a shadow of a doubt. You take these tapes to court, you put them in front of a jury of 12 reasonable peers, and they are all going to find that there is enough evidence, not beyond any doubt, but beyond a reasonable doubt, that Joe Biden was not of sound mind and was not the one making presidential decisions.
Well, and that's what I'm curious about is who was the one with their hand in the puppet? Because all these other people were in on it. There's no way you could be the people sitting there in an interview if that was the person you were interviewing and not know this. I mean, look, AI is way better than we think it is now. So if these interviews were done with AI, then who the hell was the person sitting next to the empty chair?
It's a big question. It's a really big question. Who was the media in on it? Think back now. Now, this is where the rest of the world becomes really important. Think about what CBS is going through now, where they are being sued for editing a Kamala Harris interview to make it look like an answer she gave to question B was actually her answer to question A. They were in on it. The media, they were all in on it.
They were.
They all knew, they all had evidence, and they all didn't care enough about you and me to tell us the truth, which begs a real big question of why. Why was the media willing to make it so hard? Why were politicians willing to make it so hard? Why were those who had their hand in the puppet doing what they did? We will dive into that in hour 2 of this week's episode of Implicit Bias Radio. By the way, if you are in a market that only gets hour 1 of Implicit Bias Radio, call the radio station, tell them you want hour 2. It's out there, or find us on our socials, anywhere you get podcasts. Subscribe to the bonus content, because I'm telling you, straight, unedited, unhinged fire when we get to this week's bonus content. This is Implicit Bias Radio. It's a tough life, but somebody's got to do it. That's why Implicit Bias Radio is here to take the tough shots just for you, which means literally we're pretty close to taking shots on the air. I'm your host, Kevon Bordelon. We've got the crew here in the Mr. Lester's Top Secret Podcast lair, where we solve the problems of the world, one weekly whiskey at a time. We are in Crittenden's Mississippi Toasted Pecan cask strength at 113 and change, 5 years old, couple drops of water and whiskey. Open it up just right. You can see the face of the rustic renegade as he takes a sip, inhales all those beautiful aromas, and takes him back to Lord knows where.
Yeah.
At the bar, we have Brian the Virus Harmon, because somehow the man has a habit of saying things that get really popular on social media. Find us on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, all that. By the way, if you go there, you've still got some time, because we're going to give away some more tickets to Summer Supper at Mr. Lester Steakhouse on Saturday, May 31st. Hotels covered, foods covered, drinks are covered in the only 5-star restaurant between New Orleans and Houston. We're proud that they partner with us and we partner with them. Last person at the bar, he is Mike Trammell, Clear Springs, box drop. Trammell, it's good to have you back. I got to let you know that.
It's Plaisance. That's where Caleb was. You were
Plaisance?
asking where did he? It's Plaisance.
I know right
Plaisance,
where
yeah.
Plaisance is.
And then, of course, there's Walker here in the corner, whom you can't see anymore because we took the camera off of him because, well, people asked us to. Anyway, let's dive into the story that we have been working on. One of those that has just been really, really difficult to handle. We talked about the Joe Biden cancer diagnosis in hour 1. We talked about the fact that don't lie to me and tell me that they just found out. Please don't. Please don't insult my intelligence. Please don't insult your intelligence or the intelligence really of anybody here in the Mr. Lester's TSPL or out there listening or watching, because we know you knew. We know he knew. Maybe he forgot, unfortunately. We talked about the fact that the Her tapes have come out, which have revealed just how gone mentally Joe Biden was. And the big question that I think we all had was, how many people knew? So when I say this is the biggest political scandal in the history of the United States, how many people knew? And I'm going to tell you, it's a hell of a lot more people than you would ever imagine. And I'm going to tell you why in just a minute. Caleb?
Watergate was what, 13?
13 people involved,
13
allegedly?
involved, yeah. This has got to be hundreds of people to cover up something of this magnitude.
It might be more than that.
I mean, it's just because, the doctor who does the exam isn't the one who does the tests. Then you have the people who
do the test might not know who the test is on, to be fair.
they may not, but there tends to be labeling and tracking and chain of custody, right?
Correct.
And they're not just going to send the president's biopsy material and all that to the same place they send ours.
Agreed.
So I'm sure they had a good idea. And then you have all the other staff and everything else, because when those results come in, do you think it really goes to him first? No, someone's got to go through it, sort it check it for foreign objects, check it for any kind of toxins or anything else too. You think they're not reading that?
Was there a reason they called him Plugs Biden that we didn't know about when you talk about foreign objects?
Oof. So there's
Just saying.
it's at least hundreds of people. Hundreds of people.
I think it's at least hundreds. And look, I make the joke. I hate that anyone is diagnosed with this kind of illness. I do. And I think we as a Catholic and Christian show have tried to separate the fact that we wish him good for the sake of other, right? But we also have to recognize I'm not really upset with Joe Biden on this.
No.
I'm upset with a lot of other people. Any thoughts on how many people know or knew about this from the bar?
Hundreds or thousands. I don't know what the answer is. I don't know what the staff is inside the White House. But as far as, okay, we're speaking specifically about the cancer diagnosis.
No, we're
not,
talking about everything.
Yeah,
everything.
I'm speaking like as far as his cognitive decline, the entire country. Okay, there may be a 30% of the country that refuses to admit, but they all know what they saw. Okay, we all know what we saw for the last 4 years. And there's no denying it. And not only that, but the man was in office in 71, 72. He's been, I mean, we literally have decades, much like Trump. We can look at what Trump hasn't changed since he became, since his name became worldwide fame in the 70s or 80s.
That's relatively fair.
Yeah. But in Biden's case, we can do the same comparison. That was not the same Biden it was even during the Obama years.
Oh, we're going to go there before the end of the show.
So everyone knew, and it's not just the country, it's every leader of every foreign country was well aware of what was going on. I don't know why Mike Johnson decided to only bring it up once he was out of office, but he specifically, this is a clip that went viral, him talking about Joe Biden not knowing he signed an executive order that I believe it was.
I forgot about that, but yeah.
It was liquid natural gas, if I'm not mistaken, exports to
correct.
Yeah. And why is that important to Mike Johnson, a congressman from Louisiana? Because we are one of the largest natural gas exporters on the planet. Louisiana is. So I don't know what the number is. As far as everyone in the White House knew, that's for sure. Everyone that works in Washington, D.C. for the government was probably well aware of it as well. The cancer diagnosis, I'm sure, took a lot of people by surprise, as you would think it would. That number is going to be a lot smaller, but it's still a lot more than we would probably want to guess.
Trammell?
Well, my question is, why is it coming out just now? Like, whenever he had the presidential debate with Trump, I mean, he obviously was bumbling and stumbling on his words, commonly like I do. But
Anyway,
but
you can still form a sentence.
Sometimes.
That's fair.
So anyway, I mean, why wasn't this diagnosis brought out then? That would have been the perfect timing to say he wasn't fit for office.
So I'll give you a reason. And this really shocked me. Please don't believe me. Go look this up. Alex Thompson is an author who wrote a book called Original Sin. It is about Biden's presidency and the cover-up that we are witnessing. He was on CNN. The video is out there, and it's captivating. Here's why it's captivating. The Biden campaign, before the 2024 election, spent millions of dollars to create a private town hall. Now, campaigns do this. So they can take excerpts from the video and drop those sound bites into commercials, drop them into ads, the whole 9 yards. But they spend millions to bring in people, extras, for a town hall. According to Thompson, the town hall recordings were so bad they could not edit them together to make them look good. So here's what I want you to think about.
Did they contact 60 Minutes?
No. But here's what I want you to think about. Think about what they can do with editing. You can make almost anyone say anything today. In 2024, you could do the same thing with editing and make it look good. How bad does that have to be? And some people told him, listen to this again, please don't insult my intelligence. Oh, the lighting was bad. You spent millions of dollars and you're telling me that you hired a guy who can't light a room? Don't feed me this line of BS. I'll tell you who I'm mad at. I'm mad at whoever it is that signed an NDA to get paid to go in and be a part of this town hall to make it look like it was a real town hall and came out and didn't say, man, I got to go tell the news media about this. I got to go tell people that this guy's not there. I got to go tell people that this is a bad decision for the entire United States of America. And instead, somehow, and this is the crux of this for me, somehow they kept this quiet for at a minimum a year before this guy found out about it and wrote about it. In other words, all those people out there who say, oh, it's a conspiracy theory, you can't keep that many people quiet. Guess what? Apparently, you can.
I mean,
for a while.
Some people have a price. Some people have a price that they're willing to just let things go by and be bought. And if those are the kind of extras you buy, it's just negotiations.
I just can't get over how many people had to know. It had to be thousands. Mm-hmm. You had a production crew of probably 75 on this thing if they spent millions of dollars. Mm-hmm. You had everything.
Yeah,
from
but the production crew is probably people they have used before.
Regardless,
who
they
were
knew.
Already on the take.
Regardless, they knew. So when the question becomes how many people knew, how many people are willing to sell this out, and then why? The real big question is why. Could it be greed? Sure, could be greed. Could it be that there were criminal activities that hadn't been pardoned yet, which we're going to talk about later in the show? Maybe they kept it secret because of that. Could it be that maybe they were just afraid of what could befall them? Maybe they were afraid of being Arkansided with 2 to the back of the head. I mean, you never know what the motivation is here. And that is not an insult to our listeners in Arkansas. If you don't know who that's an insult to, I am very happy with my life. I am not suicidal, and I do not have any incriminating evidence against Hillary Clinton. Just saying.
We would email you, but they would get deleted.
But this is the crazy part. People always say, oh, you can't have that many people in a conspiracy theory. This is proof that we have.
Yeah.
James O'Keefe, Project Veritas, just got, and I sent this to the crew. Hopefully you saw it. I just sent it out that James O'Keefe got a governmental whistleblower who said, oh, we all knew Biden wasn't there. We knew Biden wasn't running the show. Everybody knew that he wasn't competent to be president. And that's not a verbatim quote. It's the essence of what the guy was saying, though. But if everybody knew it, why weren't they out there saying something? Did they know maybe that what they were doing was illegal? I mean, remember, and this all goes back to some emails that were produced on WikiLeaks. Remember, there was an email. It is undisputed to this day from WikiLeaks. Please don't believe us. Written by the same person that I said I have no incriminating evidence on, that said if Donald Trump gets elected, we're all going to hang. Why would you hang? Maybe there are still crimes that are punishable by hanging. Anybody know what crime is punishable by hanging still to this day?
Treason.
So wouldn't, follow me here, wouldn't someone who was elected president of the United States, who was never of his right mind being president of the United States, and having all decisions made by someone else and forcing a feeble, mentally void individual to go out in public and say things while you made all the decisions and you did everything, even though you might have been unelected, nobody knows who you are, wouldn't that by definition be the theft of an election and you essentially being run as president of the United States, or you running the United States as a president without ever being elected? Wouldn't elder abuse of that degree fall underneath that legal precedent? I am not a legal scholar, so I don't know. I'm just asking questions. But I find it highly, highly, highly suspect that we had a town hall that they couldn't use because it was incoherent from Joe Biden. We had the Robert Hur investigation where you had a taped interview with him where it was clear that he wasn't mentally competent to answer those questions. We now know that he's diagnosed with a terminal cancer, which they're telling us, just popped up, when really the only documented cases of this take almost a decade to get to this point. When you start putting all of those facts together and start thinking about what actually happened, I am not angry with Joe Biden. I feel sorry for Joe Biden because I believe Joe Biden was, as a good buddy of mine put in a text string this week, and yeah, I'm going to quote Lee Ritter, it was a live action weekend at Bernie's. That's what this was. The entire Biden presidency was a live action weekend at Bernie's where they trotted him out with their hand behind him. And if you think about how many times he wandered off, how many times he started to answer a question and somebody jumped in and stopped him, when you think about how many times he didn't know where he was or started to give an answer that was incoherent and someone jumped in so that you wouldn't know, it was freaking weekend at Bernie's, the presidential edition. And to me, that in and of itself is treason by whoever was behind Joe Biden. I'm curious as to what the rest of the crew thinks here, or if we have any disagreement, I'd be curious to know.
To add to what the point you were just making, how many times during the Biden administration did we see White House aides usher the media out of the room and override them with their own voices? Everyone needs to go. And that was done repeatedly in front of other world leaders who were sitting next to Joe Biden. And that happened at least dozens of times, if not more than that, during the course of his 4 years as president. And that just everything stinks to the high heavens, and like this is one of those rabbit holes that I believe people will be going down for the remainder of our lives and hopefully longer. I feel sorry for Joe Biden. I can say with certainty, he's going to have the smallest presidential library of modern times. There's no money being sent to him for a presidential library.
I'll be curious if there even is a presidential library for Joe Biden, because let's be honest here. You want the ultimate proof that they had every reason to try and steal the 2020 election and create a false result? This is it. This was the play. This was the play by the people that you and me, that people who are reasonable with regards to politics, who are logical with regards to how decisions are made, not overly emotional. This was their play to keep you and us in check. This was their play to keep you and us under their thumb.
When it showed they could do it.
Yep.
It showed that they could do this for as long as they wanted to.
Or until, and this is why I think it's happening this way, and this is why the theme of the show this week is things have to be hard, or until enough people saw it that they couldn't cheat their way out of it.
When you have to have a line in the stone that says, you know what, my morals don't bend, my integrity is not for sale, and I will stand up for what I believe is right, even if it means standing alone. Because we had hundreds of people who refused to stand together, let alone. And all it takes is one person to make a damn difference. And the spineless cowards that are in office and have been put there by someone else deserve to have the beat out of them.
Oh, we're going to have to edit that one out. Yeah. He didn't even give a warning on that one. This is the first time Walker's had to edit anything in a while. You could have waited till the bonus content for that, which, by the way,
it just chaps me.
If you are listening to Implicit Bias Radio on terrestrial radio, we appreciate it. If you have elevated to our podcast, whether it's on Apple, Google, Spotify, iHeartRadio, any of the podcast platforms, Buzzsprout, we really appreciate it. If you have subscribed to the bonus content, you're going to get the unedited, unhinged, just absolutely off the rails version of Implicit Bias Radio, which means that, yes, the Rustic Renegade will not be silenced. He will not be censored. Mike Trammell might actually talk for more than 30 seconds and you might understand it. Brian Harmon, the virus, he's going to get in your system. And trust me, it's not a good thing. The rest of Implicit Bias Radio, though, we're going to come back because there's two more aspects of this story to talk about before we get to the Did he do it update, the Diddy trial, which has taken a massive turn and might just tie into all of this on this week's episode of Implicit Bias Radio. Why? That is the question on this week's episode of Implicit Bias. Why is life sometimes so hard? Why do we solve the problems of the world sipping on weekly whiskeys? Why does Brian Harmon hate the nickname Triple H? I'm not sure, but it's okay because we're going to leave it and we're going to let him go with it. And of course, why does Mike Trammell always wear the hat when it doesn't matter? Anyway, let's jump into this week's episode of Implicit Bias. I'm Kavan Bordelon. Hopefully we just showed you, if you're watching on YouTube, Facebook, X, any of our video platforms, we've showed you the bar here in the Mr. Lester's Top Secret Podcast lair with Brian Harmon, Mike Trammell, Caleb Morse, sitting to my left. I think the big question that we have with regards to why is why all of a sudden do we have the biggest political scandal in the history of the United States? Brian, you brought this up during a break. I'm a firm believer that one of the reasons why we are now finding out that Joe Biden, and again, our best sentiments go to him. We don't wish this on anyone. We try to will the good of other for the sake of other as a Catholic and Christian show. But why do they all of a sudden announce that he's got terminal cancer? Why all of a sudden do we have the release of the Hur tapes, Special Prosecutor Hur, that shows that Joe Biden, early in his presidency, was really not mentally competent to run this country? And I think we got some hints. The first hint is a name, and that name is Anita Dunn. Does anyone know who Anita Dunn is here in the Top Secret Podcast lair? And anybody heard the name, know who she is?
She's a journalist, isn't?
Nope,
No?
not a journalist. Not a journalist. You got to eat the microphone, guys. This is an audio thing. Like, you're killing me here, all of y'all. except for Caleb.
No.
Because Caleb loves the microphone.
Yep.
It's okay.
We've established she's not a journalist.
Correct. She's not a journalist. And Harmon, I'm just giving you garbage. I mean, seriously, I do need you to use a microphone, but I don't care. All right. Anybody else know who Anita Dunn is? I fully expected that no one would know who Anita Dunn is. Anita Dunn is one of the 5 signators needed in order for the auto pen to work.
For in general or just in that office?
Nope. In that office. So
then she's somebody on the White House
the official
committee.
the official auto pen needs 5 signatures. Please, again, don't believe this. It needs 5 signatures for the auto pen to then function. Think about like when you've seen movies and they're like, okay, we must simultaneously turn keys and push buttons. Same thing here. They all need these signatures signing off to say we can use the auto pen. Anita Dunn is one of those signators.
So she's one of the people who was complicit.
What is her position?
Her position is, I believe it's a White House staffer or advisor, senior level advisor. One of these nebulous, high-ranking yes people, right? You hear these terms in corporate America all the time. They're in politics too, who literally run around each day and they think about stuff to keep their jobs going. Oh, we can have other people do this. Oh, we can make other people do that. This happens all over the place. They get promoted to this level, and that's what happens. Same thing happens in government and politics. They are the hand behind the puppet. And there are conversations saying that there might be investigations now as to who was behind the auto pen and signing off on a record number of presidential pardons, and that they might even have been sold. So why would you keep someone in office who physically can't do the job, who is not mentally acute to the point that they need to be to even be present in most conversations or many conversations, who is dying of terminal cancer? Why would you keep them in office until the bitter end?
The same reason you would do that to anyone is because they're useful, because you need them. There's a necessity for the sock monkey.
When you said Anita Dunn, I was going to actually say a pun on words. Anita Dunn, I wanted to say it. But so how does Anita get this position? I mean, what qualifies her? What is her party affiliation? How long has she been in that position? What
I'd love to tell you I know,
I will research.
but this is how ambiguous they try to keep certain people. They want them ambiguous. They want them as senior level staffers at this think tank and for this politician and all these different places, right? And now all of a sudden, we're starting to see reports come out that maybe these people were taking bribes to give out pardons. This would be a really big reason to keep Joe Biden in office until the last day, because if you put someone in who actually has a spark from one ear to the other ear, maybe they tell you no. But Joe Biden wasn't going to tell you no because he couldn't.
For that theory to hold water, there would have to be an unusual amount of pardons that came out of the Biden White House.
I love the way you say that. There would have to be.
There would have to be.
So wait, so
I
I don't know if there were though. I mean,
I just so happen to have it pulled up.
Shocker.
All right. 8 years of George W. Bush, 200 total. 8 years of Barack Obama, 1,927. 4 years of Donald Trump plus 2025. So this includes the J6 pardons, 1,700. Joe Biden, 4-year term, 8,064.
So for our mathematicians out there is something called a statistical outlier. That means that something odd happened. That is what the statistical outlying number means. There was some sort of anomaly that happened in order for us to get that number of pardons under Joe Biden versus Donald Trump, who's been in office now, 4.5 years, and he's got 1,700. Barack Obama, who was in office 8 years and had how many?
A little over 1,900.
A little over 1,900.
Yep, 1,927.
Really, really interesting that Joe Biden issued more than 8,000 pardons in 4 years in office.
I want to go back to Anita Dunn. Her career is interesting.
Okay.
Her early career as a Carter White House intern. From there, she continued to work for Democrats in 1984, 2000, 2004. In 2006, she was hired by Senator Barack Obama to direct communications and strategy for all of his political campaigns, and then onto his Hope Fund. And then she helped prepare and build the Obamas for America.
So, it would be really cool, or it would be really coincidental if Barack Obama had ever said, I'd never want to be president again, but I would love to have somebody I could put in office and direct as a puppet. You would, it'd be interesting if he had ever said something like that.
She is currently the CEO for Future Forward USA Action, which is their goal is to rebuild America's middle class.
I wonder if were getting paid by USAID. That's just a question. I don't know, but I'd love for maybe our Doge partners, right? The guys with Doge. Hey, you might want to check if Anita Dunn, who served under President Biden as a senior level staffer, was that what it was? Caleb?
Yes.
Yep.
Senior advisor to the president.
If she also now works for an organization that was getting funded by USAID, it would be a very, how do we say that? Coincidental circumstance that would happen, which might bring us to maybe the one that is a little far out. It brings to mind, anybody remember the movie Foul Play from the 70s? Goldie Hawn, Chevy Chase, Foul Play. I know Walker doesn't because Walker wasn't even a thought back then. Neither does Tug. Mike, you and I are probably the only ones in the room who might remember that movie where Goldie Hawn goes to the opera because they're trying to assassinate a pope in that movie. No?
Never saw it.
Well, at one point in the movie, they grab this guy, and basically the guy I think he's got like 9 lines in the movie, and every line is the same thing. Everything he says is far out because they're in San Francisco in the early 70s. What we're going to discuss in the next segment, I'm going to give us a little extra time. What we're going to discuss might be a little far out for everybody out there, but it's a question we have to ask. We don't know the answer, but if you want to hear the question, which I promise you is worth the price of admission, you want to stick around for more of hour 2 of this week's episode of Implicit Bias Radio. Penultimate segment of this week's episode of Implicit Bias. I'm your host, Kevon Bordelon. We have gone down the rabbit hole of why it should be difficult that we are going through and experiencing and seeing the greatest political scandal in the history of this country, which is the fact that Joe Biden was never cognitively relevant or adept enough to be president, number one. Number 2, that he's had terminal cancer, which all leads us to the fact that number 3, Joe Biden never was president. This is the end of the conversation. Joe Biden wasn't president. The people who voted for Joe Biden had their votes stolen from them. They were stolen from them by some faceless, nameless bureaucrat who put their hand in the back of a puppet and created a real-life presidential version of Weekend at Bernie's. And I'm going to take this just one step farther. And my wife told me not to go here. She said, Kevon, I don't know if people are ready for this. I'm going to ask some questions, and I don't know the answers. Caleb's making fun of my fingers. It's all right, Caleb, because I've got a finger that's about to go somewhere. But it's this, and I'm going to pose this question to the members here in the Top Secret Podcast Lair. Do you think, esteemed members of the Implicit Bias crew, that Joe Biden has been dead for a while? Think about the 6'8" Joe Biden that we saw walk out of the White House in 2024.
It would not surprise me at all. It really would not. We've seen the massive Joe Biden. We've seen an aware Joe Biden. We've seen a Joe Biden that couldn't put together words in the form of sentences. So either he's got a multiple personality disorder that includes height, or the body doubles and triples just really weren't the best.
Yeah, there's a beady-eyed version and a wide-eyed version too. I've seen the giant. I've seen the guy that towered over everybody.
I remember seeing that video and being like, "What the heck is that?"
Yeah.
Now, there's a couple options here. Number one,
I don't know.
Number one, if you were using body doubles, would you in fact use incoherent body doubles?
Yeah, that's the thing.
Maybe to sell it. You know, I mean, the beady-eyed one, by the way, he goes by the name of Walter. So
And he's a comedian who, I know which one you're talking about. But number one, would you use an incoherent version? If you were really using body
truthfully,
doubles,
no. Yeah, truthfully.
you would use competent coherent and keep the facade going.
Yeah.
Unless the incoherent one was the original. No, even if it wasn't
Unless-
it would be the original.
Unless you're trying to be very specific with laws that you are avoiding by allowing certain things to happen, like depositions,
Yeah.
like the Her tapes,
Yeah.
like debates, when at that point you might actually be willfully trying to change the results of an election. So are they maybe trying to split legal hairs by keeping the actual Joe Biden in there at some point, which means that it's sometimes, and look, sometimes we have seen Joe Biden and he has been very cognitively adherent. But at some point you have to wonder, I mean, look, and I'm not saying that there are body doubles being used. I'm asking the question. We know that Saddam Hussein had multiple body doubles. We now know, thanks to our CIA, that it was a body double that was apparently shot in a bunker in Berlin, and the real Adolf Hitler made his way to Argentina and lived out his life until the 1980s.
And had 2 daughters.
And had 2 daughters. We now know that basically every major world leader has multiple body doubles. Why wouldn't the United States utilize some of that same stuff?
Don't tell me we don't do the same thing that other people do.
Look, there is a TED Talk that was given by, at the time, the director of disguise for the CIA.
I remember that one.
And she actually said, you can be in the same room with a person. You can get up close. The masks are so good that we can't tell. You won't be able to tell in the same room. If you can't tell in the same room, you think a camera's going to be able to discern? No.
And she's saying that was true in the 90s. She said
In the 90s, 30
the
years ago.
silicone mask became indistinguishable from real life in the 90s.
That's 30 years ago. I want you to think about
I'm
that.
going to start nibbling ears when I meet people. That's the only way to figure it out.
So how far back do you think he's been dead? Or
I would love to say I know. I'm asking the question.
possibly.
I'm asking the question. Did something happen? Here's where I'm going to take you to, because here's some things that I have questions about. If he was really healthy, why didn't he come out of his basement in the 2020 election?
That's what I was about to bring up. Like, he was hitting. He never really came out. I'm like y'all. I've seen so many different versions of him, and I don't watch the news probably like you guys watch it. But there's so many different versions of him out there. I mean, Elvis had body doubles. There's actually Elvis right over here on Jefferson Street. If you ever,
I didn't know that.
It's actually a good Elvis over here.
You're not talking about pelvis, huh? The pelican? There's a pelican downtown
There
dressed
is.
up as Elvis.
Yeah,
Pe-
There is Pelvis the Pelican. Yep. But this to me is where the question lies, which is, if they're going to take the inch, do they take the mile too? And if you take the inch of, well, yeah, we're going to lie to you about the fact that he's had prostate cancer for 4 to 6 to 10 years. If they're going to lie to you about the fact that he was not mentally adept enough to answer questions in a deposition and know things like the year that his son died or what year it even really was at any given moment, do you think that if there hadn't been, because remember, Laura Loomer reported that there was a massive medical emergency among Air Force One when Biden was president.
You're right. I do remember that.
And that was very late into the campaign. Would they not just keep lying to you and tell you he's still alive?
I'm not prepared to say that I think he's dead. That he
I
died.
don't know that he is
Yeah.
either. I'm just asking the question.
I acknowledge there most likely are body doubles used often, probably more than we'll ever know. Getting back to the 2020 campaign and why we didn't see him, it's because his cognitive abilities have been on the downs, have been declining for years. That's what I think. They knew it in 2020. It was and COVID was the perfect cover for it. But
Well, now I'm going to ask you the big question. What if he was dead and wasn't alive when they signed all of the pardons? Or when the auto pen signed all of the pardons?
yeah, I say everybody involved is in so much trouble already that maybe that's a.
But to me, the only way that it's a slam dunk is if you go, well, I mean, they can say, oh, well, this was him. But if you can bring out and go, yeah, he was dead.
We'd have to, if we could prove it, if it could be proven, then how much would it undo?
How many laws would it undo that he signed? Fraud vitiates everything. Fraud wipes everything off the table. If I sign a contract with you, Brian Harmon, fraudulently from the get-go, and then we go through 5 iterations of another contract and we do all this other stuff, and then we find out that it was fraudulent, does it go back to the last one we signed, or does it go all the way back to the first one?
I don't disagree with
It
you
goes
on
back
it.
to the first one.
Sure.
I don't disagree with you on it. I don't see that getting proven in our lifetime.
I'm more comfortable saying Jimmy Carter was dead when they trouted him out to vote for Biden. Now, if anybody that saw those videos, that was terrible.
I don't disagree with you. And look, the fact that this maybe is
Jill
the other,
Biden's red dress.
this is the other big thing that I think we
Cry
have
for
to
help.
get underneath before we get to the Diddy trial, which we're going to do a lot of bonus content about, but we're going to talk about at the end of this week's show because the Diddy trial might tie all this together, which is if he's dead, if they sign it, the slam dunk of treason now becomes really easy to prove. And at the end of the day, whether it's treason, it's just immoral. What was done to a human being for people to keep power was horrific. It is a prime example of literal evil in the world. The fact that his wife let this happen to him is evil. The fact that his son was putting him through all of this and the alive son, I'm not talking about Bo, I'm talking about Hunter, who put him through all of this, who did all this other stuff during this, it's evil. The people behind the scenes, Anita Dunn and all the senior advisors and all the lawmakers and everybody else, they're all just evil. And if you vote with them and that's your guy, we just need you to look in the mirror and admit your implicit bias. The Diddy trial, when we come back on Implicit Bias Radio. Diddy did dumb diddly do it on this week's episode of Implicit Bias Radio. This is hour 2. Yeah, we're talking about Diddy, Caleb.
I'm so impressed. Did you rehearse that?
No.
Was good.
Yeah. Like,
Whatever. Yeah, did he do it is the big question. And we don't mean like did he, we mean like did he. Because again, as you listen to the show and as you listen to anything we put forth, there is no what?
it just clicked on me that it really makes you want to think about his original name of Sean Puff Daddy Combs.
Okay, it's a non sequitur, but yeah, it works.
Yeah.
It works. Just real quick, just so people know, we never give financial advice. This is all opinion. This is all for entertainment. It's just tons of fun because we're just asking questions on Implicit Bias Radio. Which brings us to our super genius, expert analysis of the Diddy trial.
Now, this is near and dear to Walker's heart, so I think
Yeah, it is because he had freak offs. So
Oh, yeah. I mean,
Walker was a freak off dude.
he was in one of the covert communist.
Isn't Walker the Punisher?
What was it? It was a covert communist freak off, right? That's what it was called.
I don't even look. Here's what I know as I introduce you to the crew, which, by the way, before we really dive into this segment, do not forget, find us on our socials because we are giving away tickets for multiple couples to attend Summer Supper at Mr. Lester Steakhouse. Cypress Bayou Casino, May 31st. We cover hotel, we cover food, we cover drinks, we cover a dang good time with the crew of Implicit Bias. But you got to go to our socials to get it. You know, I'm just going to say it's pure coinky dink that somebody who won a bottle of whiskey did happen to actually be one of our subscribers. That was not, you don't have to subscribe. There is no charge to enter. We are not in that business because we don't want to get sued. But that's the way it works. So go find us on our socials, subscribe, win tickets. We want you to come have drinks with us, not drinks, drinks. All right, into the Diddy trial. So we have kind of teased here in the Mr. Lester's TSPL that the Diddy trial might end up bringing a lot of this stuff together. And I know people are out there going, man, Kavan, you might have lost it here. Until they start naming and dropping some names in testimony in court. Now, we do our best not to be rumor people. We like to ask questions, and then we like to tell you about things that are on the record. By on the record, we mean in deposition. By on the record, we mean on .gov websites. By on the record, we mean in testimony sworn in court under penalty of perjury. Again, I am not a lawyer, but there are some basic things that we should all know. Under penalty of perjury is one of them. And under penalty of perjury, you had testimony in the Diddy trial in the last week or so, and some names came up. The big name we're going to come to in a second. The first name was Hakeem Jeffries. For those who don't know, this is a U.S. lawmaker in D.C. And basically what was said, this is translation of direct quote, was that the didster, the D-dum diddly, the diddly poo was meeting with Hakeem Jeffries, and that Hakeem Jeffries attended Puff Diddy parties. PDPs. Maybe we'll just shorten it to PDPs now.
Well, and that's where I got the covert communist stuff from, because they said that he attended covert communist freak-offs. And correct me if I'm wrong, isn't he the one where they said that they had people dress up like Fidel Castro in
Yes.
bedazzled camouflage pants
Yes.
with cigars?
Yes. Which, let's be honest, guys, there could be a way where that might work.
There's never a
Depends-
way where it works where I wear bedazzled camouflage pants.
No, I'm not wearing it.
I gotta find
It was guys wearing it. That's what
okay.
they said.
No, okay. Guys were okay.
They were
I missed the-
explicit. I like how you were like, oh, I'm into this. No.
I missed the
No.
guys part. No.
Yeah.
No.
I gotta find what part of the internet y'all are on because I don't know about any of that.
This is all over X. This is on X.
Yeah, I'm on the wrong side of X.
No, you're not.
I gotta expand.
I've seen where you are on
It's
X.
on that side
I've
of
seen
Triple
your
X too,
comments,
from what
Harmon.
I'm seeing.
Okay.
I have seen your comments. No, but seriously, like, you know, it almost reminds me. So think back to Wayne's World when they had the communist club that they went to in Wayne's World, where they had go-go dancers in cages. I mean, that's what I'm thinking, but it's not that. To your point, Caleb, it's way beyond that.
It's horrible, and it's degrading, and it's filthy, and it's
And then there's drug trafficking involved. And then there are tablets. Now, this does not mean that because a tablet is made to look like a certain person, that person is implicated in criminal doings.
Pills.
But it's awfully odd that, according to testimony in the trial, they were doing LSD and the pills were in the shape of the face of Barack Obama. For those who don't know what WTF means, look it up. For those who do, WTF.
well, it goes back deeper than that, right? So when you look at coins with faces on them, that kind of
Yes.
stuff, Roman culture, one of the things they say is that the United States has become the new Rome. I don't remember the philosopher that said, "How dare you be upset that you send your children to Rome and they come back Romans?" That's what's happening. These people are being sucked up and turned to this government machine, and they come back and they worship their Roman god and not the true God.
Here's what I'm wondering. What I'm wondering is, who else's name is going to get dropped in this trial that showed up at a Diddy party? I mean, think about the people that you have in pictures at Diddy parties in the all white that he would throw. I mean, it was almost like they said, you have to wear all white so you can be identified as being part of the group. And then the worst part is this to me is how they really get people. I have to wonder when the all white beach photos started being a thing for families.
Oh, damn.
I have to wonder if the Diddy party culture that started making its way to social media begat families trying to replicate the look, which I'm not saying that families are actually involved in this, but it almost becomes tacit acceptance.
Damn, I have some of those linen pants.
So do I. I need to put yours back. Anyway, but the point is, I mean, all kinds of families did this.
Where did that subliminal, where did that
And
come from?
that's was it life imitating art? Was it, what is it that started this that made us go, man, we really need to replicate what these people in Hollywood, with these people in LA, with these people in New York are doing?
You just broke me. That's what happened.
I broke you way before this, Caleb. And in a way more private setting. I'm kidding. I had to. Oh, and Walker's giving me the finger. All right, look, we're going to continue this conversation in the unhinged, unedited bonus content for Implicit Bias Radio.
I wanted my chance to answer your original question. Was he guilty? Yes, he is. That's it.
Okay.
That's all I have.
So catch the rest of this conversation wherever you subscribe to podcasts. Subscribe to our bonus content. We'll give you more. The unedited, unhinged version of Implicit Bias Radio. Don't forget, go register for tickets to visit us at Summer Supper at Mr. Lester's. You know what? Why not? We're going to give away a bottle of Buffalo Trace at Mr. Lester's in the next week. We'll do that too. It's going to be tons of fun, tons of giveaways, tons of pours. Why? Because it's your Implicit Bias Radio. We'll see you in 7.